Hello everyone, welcome to another tutorial video. Today we're going to start working on the combat system associated with the RootMotion locomotion. You will not need anything other than the base RootMotion locomotion. You don't need any of the ledge climbing, turn in place, or any of that to be able to implement this. So if you have not done those sections, you can still follow along. You just would need basically episode 1 and 2 of the RootMotion locomotion series to be able to get this set up to work. I have created a Patreon and got that set up. I have some options on there if you guys want to be able to have access to the tutorial video files as well as the entire RootMotion locomotion series. I am making those available for people to be able to get those. There will be a link in the description for that. You can also find the link in the Discord channel. Without further ado, let's get into it. All right, so first thing we want to do is get our inputs set up. So we'll go to third person character folder, we'll go to our inputs, go to actions. Going to right click, go to input, create input action. I'm going to call this IA combat. So this is basically going to put us into combat mode. So when we equip our weapon, it'll put us into combat mode where we can attack, and then when we unequip our weapon, it'll take us out of combat mode. Let's go ahead and just duplicate that. So Control D. Gonna name that one IA attack so that when we're in combat, we can actually attack. In the attack one, we want to open that up. We want to, I believe, add a pressed in there. Let me double check. No, we don't need to do that. Never mind. Okay. Now that we have that set up, go ahead and open up our, actually we need to go to our IMC default. Let's go ahead and get those mappings added in real quick. So we're gonna add a mapping. We'll pick combat first. I'm just gonna make that Q. And then add another mapping, IA attack, and I'm gonna make that left mouse click. Save that once you got those set up. And close that, and let's open our third person character blueprint. We're going to go ahead and create the coding to equip, unequip, so sheath, unsheath. So what we're going to do is right click, we're going to grab our input we just created, IA combat, and then going to add a branch in, and we're going to connect that to the started. And we want to make sure that we're in combat mode. So combat, create a variable. We're going to name that combat mode question mark, and we're going to drag that to our condition. If you're wondering why my blueprint nodes look different, I'm using flat nodes. It's pretty cheap plugin that you can get on the marketplace. Just kind of helps keep things a little bit cleaner. I like it better than the default. So, and then from there, we're going to create a macro. And we're going to call this Unequip. Unequip. And we're going to get that combat mode variable. Alright, so then next we need to go ahead and create another variable. We're going to call this equipping. And this variable we're just going to end up using in we're going to use this in our animation blueprint. It's basically the whole reason we need to even create this. So go ahead and set that. So drag off, hold Alt, let go, and then click that to true. Then we're going to create another branch. And we're going to check to see if we are in combat mode. If we are in combat mode, we're going to set a delay. I'm going to set this to 0.3. I'm doing this for the animations that I have. Your animations may be a little bit different, so you may need to play around with the with your duration on your delay. And then after the delay, we're going to attach component to component mesh. So that's going to give us our target as our mesh. You can just delete that because that's not going to end up being our target. So basically attach component to component is what you need. Okay, and then from our false, we're just going to duplicate this. We're going to connect this to our false. So this is what's going to, this code here is going to basically move our weapon to each socket location. So when we do the animation, that our weapon goes to the correct location it needs to go to. And then this duration, I'm going to set to 1. Just depends on the length of the animation. You'll see once we go through the animations. Okay, so now we need to go ahead and set up our weapons. I did supply the katana that I'm using in this. So the katana that I supplied, all you'll need to do is unzip that, then drag that in. You're going to want to set it up as a skeletal mesh. Don't worry about the skeleton. Just hit import all. We're going to delete the animation and the physics asset. We don't need either one of those. We'll go ahead and keep the skeleton. And we're going to save those. Open up the katana mesh. Just going to click on our drop down here. We're just going to pick, you can pick any one of these materials that you want. I'm just going to use this red one. It's the one I used when I set it all up. And I did create a separate folder, combat folder, and then I have a folder for the combat animations. And then the mesh. So now we need to, don't worry about any of the errors pop up. So now we need to get our scene components added into with our character here. If you don't have these arrows, don't worry about that. That's from the ledge climbing stuff. So you won't have that. So need to add in a scene component. So scene, And then the utility, it'll look kind of like a mountain. The reason we're going to do this is we're going to actually set our parent sockets up on these. So this one I'm going to call sheath. So the location of this parent socket, we need to set the sockets up. We're going to go ahead and get this set up, and then we'll go ahead and set the sockets up. And then we can add a skeletal mesh, and that's going to be Katana or whatever, you know, weapon you want to use. You can use whatever you want for this. And then go ahead and select the Katana mesh. Don't worry about the position and stuff right now, but that's going to be parented on that scene component. And then we're also going to need another scene component. We'll call this one, well, I'll call it Katana equipped. You can call it whatever you want. Weapon equipped. Specific type of weapon, you know, whatever you want, it's fine. And make sure that's a child of the mesh. Okay, so now what we want to do, we want to go ahead and click on our mesh. We want to go into our skeletal mesh. So you can double click on your skeletal mesh there, and then we're going to go to the skeleton. So right now with the just standard UE4, it's got a left hand, weapon left hand there. And then we've got weapon right hand, so we can just use this socket here already for our equipped. So we can right click that. We're going to add a preview socket. Type in Katana, that Katana mesh will come up. So, and what I like to do is actually pull up the idle. Then you can actually pause that and get a good look of your position. So we're definitely going to need to rotate. And let me get rid of these bones. I don't need those right now. Nope. If you click off that and you're not sure, don't click on the Katana mesh. It won't give you the option to move it. You have to actually click on the socket because the mesh is just a preview. Okay, then I'm gonna hit W, move this on down. Looks like I need to move it up this way some. Give it a little rotation. I mean, you can spend as much time as you want on this, getting it exactly where you want it. For the purposes of the tutorial, I'm not going to spend too much time on it. Alright, so we got one. So we got that set up there, so we can go ahead and click save on that. So now if you play your idle animation, that's how it'll look when he's idle. And then we need to also set up a socket for, so we're gonna go to our pelvis. So for our when we're sheathed, so go to idle default, we'll click on the pelvis. We want to add a socket to our pelvis, so add socket. This could be on your back as well, just depends on what kind of weapon you're using, what animations. You would do the same thing. You would just use a spine bone instead. So I'm gonna call this sheath socket. And just go ahead and move that over to where it kind of needs to be. And then I'm gonna add the katana. Obviously gonna need rotated. That in position. Let me go ahead and so we want to put this get that turned the wrong way. Now let's go ahead and unclick these. Move this a little better because I want to get this so that way okay, he's gonna grab there and then pull out. So, and then if you had your sheath, you would attach that to your left hand with this animation. Just make sure. Yeah, that should be okay. Okay. We got those set up. So now we need these socket names to add into our equip unequip macro. So this one is gonna be our weapon R. You just copy it here, paste it in here. We're gonna set these to keep world on both of these. Leave weld simulate bodies. This one's gonna be our sheath socket. You Go ahead and save that skeleton too if you haven't. Okay. And then you can compile that. Now we can go back to our viewport here. So our Katana equipped, we're going to select our parent socket. It's going to be the weapon R. So that's going to put our weapon right where it needs to be. And then our sheath, we're going to use sheath socket. And you can see the Katana just moved with it. That's the reason that we're doing this, so we don't have to worry about adjusting those. We can just adjust the scene component. All right, and then you can drag up the weapon to the equipped, and then if you reset your transform, should equip it where it needs to be equipped. Yep, that looks good. I'm gonna move that back down. And compile and save that. And we can go ahead and close our skeleton. Now go ahead and go back over to our macro. So we're gonna grab our parent is going to be, so this is gonna be combat mode. We're gonna equip our weapon. So we're gonna want the equipped is gonna be our parent. And then the weapon is gonna be our target. And that's gonna be the same thing down here. For unequipped, the sheath is gonna be our parent. And the weapon is gonna be our target. Okay, so, and the reason that we leave it on the sheathed or unequipped first is so that's the default, that's where we want to start it at. So that when we actually press the button, it runs through the code, it's going to equip it for us, it's going to check to see if we're in combat mode, if that's true or false, and then it's going to attach the component to the component. So let's go ahead and save that and let's test that out, see what that does. Nope. Hold on, we gotta set the macro into our event graph. So if it's true, if we're in combat mode, we don't want to go into combat mode. If we're not in combat mode, we want to go into combat mode. Compile and save that. Now when you hit Q, alright, it's not doing anything there. It's moving the stuff, but then we need to, I know what we need to do. We need to move component 2. And we're going to set the overtime to 0.1. We're going to click for shortest rotation path. And the component that we're going to move to is the Katana. We're going to connect that to the move, and we're going to connect that to the move. Add a delay at the end of this that just gives us time after our component moves before we can do anything. And then we're going to go ahead and set the equipped, and we're going to leave that to false, and then we're going to connect our output to this. Now when we hit Q, sends it to our hand, our weapon socket, and when we hit Q again, it sends it to our sheath socket. So now that we got that set up, we got our macro done. You can close the macro out. We're going to go ahead and print text. Combat disabled. And then we're going to duplicate this. Let's change this color. I'm going to change disabled to lime green. And combat enabled. Going to change that to red. And compile and save. Combat's enabled. Combat disabled. So you notice how it gives us that little pause before. That's that delay that we set up at the end of the macro. So before it even does the print string, it gives us that little extra delay, gives us time to get through the animations all the way. All right, so now that we got that set up, we need to open up our animation blueprint. We need to go ahead and bring those variables in. Let's see, we're just gonna grab our character reference. We're not gonna drag all the way from the beginning there. Actually, let me see, we can just do this. So from our character reference, we're gonna get combat mode. We're gonna right click that, promote to variable. Something I have learned over the past few weeks, if you add a B at the beginning of this, it will still read as combat mode, but it changes the variable, so you don't have to have a space in there so that the variables are different. And we're going to connect that to our then one sequence. Straighten these nodes up a little bit here. And we also want to get equipping. Do the same thing, promote to variable. I'm just going to bring this down. Combat. File and save that. Then we can go to the Animgraph. So this is without the turn in place. This is without the turn in place and stuff added into it. I will go over what you need to do for the turn in place and stuff. I do have this working with that as well. It's not that difficult to do. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to set our unequip up. And we're just going to do that in our main state where we've got our crouch and all that stuff. So let's see, unsheath. What we're going to do, drag in your animation. And I just split these top and bottom. And then we need a transition to and from, locomotion from each one of these. To and from locomotion. Compile that, don't worry about the errors, we're gonna get that fixed now. So for our transition to draw our weapon, what we're gonna wanna do here is we're going to just go ahead and right click, add an and boolean, connect that to our can enter transition. We're gonna go ahead and get equipping true, or is equipping, and is in combat mode. Let's go ahead and add another pin. From our movement, we're going to get is falling, and a not boolean to that. Connect that to that pin. And just so we can have this all set up, let's go ahead and go back to our third person character real quick. We're going to add a variable. We're going to call it is attacking ? And then just compile and save. Go back to our event graph. Let's add that in real quick as well. So drag from our reroute node here, just like we did on the other one. Is attacking. Right click, promote to variable. Just get rid of the space. Add a B at the front. All right, now we can go back to our locomotion because we want to go ahead and add that in. We don't want to be able to equip our weapon while we're attacking. And that way we don't have to worry about so this one we need to do is not, so add another not boolean, is not attacking. And then also is not dodging as well. I know that's a lot. If you don't have the dodging and stuff, you don't need to worry about that. I just don't want to be able to equip and unequip while I'm falling or while I'm dodging. So then we can go back to the main. Basically, so our transition back. We want, let's go ahead and do another and boolean. And we're going to want 4 pins for that one. Let's go ahead and just drag in this stuff that we're going to need. Get is falling. Get is dodging. Get is attacking. We're going to do not boolean for each one of these. So I'm just going to go go ahead and make that and then just duplicate it. Just make this a little quicker. And I'm going to connect those to the bottom 3 pins. And then we're going to get time, remaining ratio, unsheath, or whatever your equip animation is called. And we want to do, if that is less than 0.1, okay, and then from our locomotion to our sheath, we can basically just copy this from the locomotion to unsheath. We're just going to paste that in there. It's going to save us a little bit of time here. Go ahead and connect that. Let's see, equipping, we still want that way. Combat mode is going to be not combat mode, since we're going to be unequipping. Stupid preview instance. Hate that automatically sets that up as the default. We're going to connect the not to that. Everything else is still going to be the same. Go back to our main. Now we're going to go to our transition from our sheath to our locomotion. So let's go ahead and we'll copy everything except for the time remaining ratio. And we're going to go into our sheath to locomotion. And then we're going to right click and do time remaining ratio, sheath, and connect that to the top pin. All right. So go ahead and save that. Let's test that out. All right. So that is working the way we need it to. So now what we need to do is set up our blend space for our movement. So what we're going to do is duplicate the blend space for just the regular movement. So the EI tutorial or locomotion, whatever you named it. We'll call this BS combat. And get rid of all of these. And I'm gonna replace these with the animations that I have for the combat. I'm not doing a sprint, so I'm going to change this, the vertical axis, to 2.0 instead of 3.0. Actually, I'm only doing walking, so I'm just going to do negative 1.0 and 1.0 for these. Idle, walk, yeah, I should be able to do that. Okay, so if you have your full 8-way with run, you don't need to do this. I'm just doing this because I only have the walking. So idle root, we'll go here. Then walk back. left, walk back right, walk forward left, walk forward right, walk left, walk right. All right. So now that's all set up. So what we're gonna do is now we're going to set up. Okay, so we need to go to the Animgraph. We want to go into our locomotion. Double click on our locomotion here. Because if you've got the turn in place set up, then you've got the idle without turn and the idle with turn with your layer blend per bone, and then your select with your if the forward and side input's not equal to, or so basically what you're going to want to do with that, we need to go back out here. We need to create our state machine for our combat blend space. So combat locomotion, and then I'm gonna go ahead and create a new cache pose. Call that combat loco cache. Go ahead and comment those. Call that combat. Okay. And then from here, we're going to add a state. We're going to call that combat locomotion. Double click on that. We're going to add our blend space that we just made. So blend space combat. Connect that. We're going to get our side input. Connect that to the side input. Forward input to the forward input. All right, so now that we have that set up, now we go to our locomotion. So we're going to copy this. This is only if you do not have the turn in place. You already have the turn in place stuff here. You won't need to follow this little section. But we're going to copy this. Disconnect that. Let's move all this out of the way here. We're going to make a state machine. Go ahead and open that up. Call this add state locomotion. the side input and the forward input. All right, and then if you connect that state machine, it should give us our normal idle. Okay, so the reason that we did that, we can get rid of this now, is because we are going to blend poses by bool. So what we want to do is right click, and we're going to use cache pose from our combat locomotion. So combat loco cache. We're going to blend poses by bool. We're going to connect the loco state. So our state that we just made, that we moved our regular locomotion into, it's going to go to our false. We're going to set our true blend to 0.3. This is going to depend on your animations, so this is just what the animations I have. Connect that, and then we're going to get combat mode. And Boolean. All right. So now I don't think I need that. I think it was just combat mode. Yeah, okay. Because it automatically does the equipping when we do combat mode. Okay, so you should go into your combat animation blend space, your blend space that we created. If you click on true for combat mode there, it should switch over. Make sure that's false. Compile and save that. Let's go ahead and test that out. So now when I hit Q, it goes into the combat mode blend space. Hit Q, goes back into our normal locomotion. All right. So now what we need to do is get our code for our attack setup. So let's go ahead and comment this. Highlight everything, hit C to comment. This is going to be equip / unequip. File and save that. Then we're going to do IA attack. And this one's going to go from our triggered. So we're going to add a branch from our triggered. We're going to check if we're in combat mode. And then go ahead and add a branch if we're in combat mode. We want to check if we are attacking. So is attacking. If it is attacking, we're going to do nothing on the check. If it is not attacking, we're going to set is attacking. We're going to set that to true. And then we want to play montage. And then we want to take our mesh. It's going to be the in skeleton mesh component. And then we're going to go ahead and add a variable. We're going to call this attack count. And we're going to change this to an integer. Go ahead and compile that. And then from our montage to play, we're going to add a select. I've got 3 attacks that I'm going to use, so I'm going to add a pin so I can have 3. So this is going to tell us which attack we're going to use. So in order, we'll go 1, 2, and 3. So I need to set these up as montages. So go to your whatever your attack animations are. Right click those, create in a montage. And then I'm gonna go ahead and save all. And then I'm gonna select these anim montages. So attack 1, 2, and 3. I'm gonna compile and save that. So then I'm gonna take get the attack count. From there, we're gonna do increment integer. And that's just going to run off of that. So every time the animation plays, it's going to add another count to the attack count. So it's going to start at 0, play the animation, go to 1, play the animation, go to 2, so forth, so forth. And then on completed, we want to reset our attack count. So we need to set that. We're going to set that to 0. And then on our uninterrupted, we want to reset is attacking as well. Compile and save. Go ahead and test that out. So right and click, left clicking, not doing anything. If I equip my weapon. Alright, only did 1 attack there. Okay, so, but it does do the attack. So we got the weapon, does the first attack. Okay, so now that we got that set up and it's doing the attack, the reason we're not doing our second and third attack is because we need to actually set up an anim notification, so we can go into our first one. So basically whenever the attack ends, we want to then have an opportunity to do our next attack. So we're gonna just add a new notify. I'm gonna call this can attack again. And I'm gonna right click that and copy it. And then we also want to go ahead and add another notify track. Because we're gonna reset our attack also. So we're gonna add a montage notify window. We're just gonna drag that from a little bit before to right to where that is, and this one's gonna be cancel or stop attack. Actually, no, I don't think we need to do that. Let's try it without it first, and then we'll come back and do that if we need to. I don't think we needed to do that. I think that was from me adding the slow movement to it. So then let's find our next attack. I'd say probably once it's gonna hit. So basically, right, yeah, right about there. And then right click and paste, save that, and then attack 3. think right about there should be good. And we'll paste that as well. And then we'll go back to third person character, and then on notify begin or on notify end? I think on notify end. So now that we got that set up, we need to go back to our event graph in the animation blueprint so we can call that notification. And attack again. And then from that, we want to cast to third person character. We want to get pawn owner. Try to get pawn owner is going to be our object. And then from this, we want to set is attacking. And we're going to leave that false. All right. So now we can go ahead and equip our weapon. So now we do multiple attacks. All right. So I think I did not add that right on the third one. Let's see. All right, let me check the second one. Set that retriggerable delay to 1.0. See what that does. Yeah, there we go. So it just depends on the animation. So you want your longest animation is what you're going to base this retriggerable delay on, because it has to give you time to get through the animation for that notify to register. So basically what the notification is, so this gives us from here, because we set it up on notification end, so that gives us from here to here to be able to click again. This is our basically our can attack again window. So if you miss that window, you'll go back into the first attack. And you can move that around, depends on your animations. You can move it around, give yourself more of a window, less of a window. Right now, the way it's set up, so basically from here to here is the window, the first attack. From here to here, all the way through the end of the animation is your combo window. So that gives you that amount of time for you to be able to go into the next attack. And then you can still move. You're still going to move in 8 directions. If you add running in, then, you know, of course you can still be able to run. I don't have running animations added in, so I do have some, but I wanted to try to keep it as short as possible and get this stuff in. We've gone over the Blendspace stuff enough. I think that pretty self-explanatory once you've done the first couple of them. All right, so now we've got that all set up. We've got our combos. Let's go ahead and comment this. Can attack, notify. Got our combo system all set up now. So that's gonna be it for this tutorial. Next tutorial we'll set up the hit traces as well as hit animations. Next video we'll set up the hit traces and we'll start working more into the combat as far as being able to actually attack and hit, possibly target system. The video after that just depends on how long it's going to take for each one of the videos for me to get it recorded and stuff. Should be able to free up more time in the coming weeks to be able to start getting some more videos out. I do appreciate everybody's support. Like I said, I did set up a Patreon. If you guys would like to support me, I would appreciate it. That's going to allow me to free up more time to be able to make videos and work on more systems. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.